Hello and welcome to our open forum of Microsoft Teams and Office 365, where this is just a Q&A session that we want to run to help people answer the troubling questions and problems and challenges, or problems they're trying to solve leveraging Microsoft Teams and Office 365. My name is Nathan Austin. I will be one of the presenters as far as walking through some of the tactical steps of the questions you're asking. But we've also got Gerald Howland, who's MyTech CTO, and will be able to answer more technical questions and some of the back-end administrative functions as those questions may come up as well. So I'll have you, Gerald, say hi in just a moment, but this is also being produced behind the scenes by Stephanie Kingsley, all of MyTech, and we're looking forward to having this session today. So Gerald, do you want to say hi really quick?
Yeah, hello everybody. Glad to have you joining us today.
All right, so this session is being recorded for future reference. You might be able to forward, but let's get going really quick. I always like to cover a little bit about MyTech for those of you who are joining us who might not know who we are. We are not a training company, but we help our clients and we want to help the community leverage the tools that they're paying for. So that's one of the reasons why we do these sessions. What we do is we work with small and medium businesses and we do IT services and consulting. That is what we do. Over the 20 years of us being in business, we have learned that there's a lot of technology that works really well together and there's some that doesn't. So what we call our proven IT strategy, we work with our clients to implement that because we know we can achieve proven results on a consistent basis. So our goal, really, we have lots of challenges that we face as businesses, from financial to HR to the economy to just operations, process, etc. We're only hoping that we can be we can help you take at least the IT challenges off your plate, so you can focus on those other areas of your business that your highest and best use of your efforts can be applied. And then we coach our team to make IT easy for you, our client. It doesn't always mean it makes IT easy for us, but our job is we don't always achieve that. We're not perfect. We definitely look for feedback, but our goal is to make IT easy for you. And working together with all these details and variables, we know that our clients can achieve 4 times more value and productivity from their IT investments. All right, enough about us. Just wanted to let you know that's what we do. So today we're just going to go into an open forum. We want to not only answer your questions verbally, but we'd like to show you through a demo tenant of how you can actually walk through these details. So I'd like to ask everyone to right now start throwing in the Q&A panel on the right side of your screen. Go ahead and start throwing questions in there about any Teams questions you might have, other Office 365 questions that we can show you how to do things. We've got a list of some stuff. I've got one thing in particular that I want to show you that will start things off to give you all a little bit of time to throw some questions into the panel. So Stephanie, queue up that next question, and I'm going to show one of the new features that came out in Teams. Really, I think got rolled out in the last several days, if not a little over a week. And that is being able to change your background when you're in a meeting. So one of the things you can do is I'm actually going to go down here. I'm in Teams. And I'm in our operations team general channel just for illustration. And down here, there's the Meet Now button. So I can start a meeting in this team by clicking on that. It's a little bit of a misnomer because it doesn't actually start the meeting right away. I'm going to add a subject. I'm going to say test meeting, for example. I'm going to say Meet Now. And one of the things that I can do, if you click on the I'm going to maximize this here. If you click on the breadcrumbs, when you've got this meeting going, when you click on the breadcrumbs, you can actually choose to, and you know what? It's probably not doing it because I'm in the browser. I'm just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and I'm going to show Stephanie here. Hello, Stephanie and Gerald. Gerald, go ahead and change yours while you're at it, if you don't mind. If you click on the little ellipses here or the breadcrumbs, one of the options you have is show background effects. So if I click on that, you actually can choose from a bunch of background effects. So if I can just select that. You have to come down here and you can either preview it or apply it. So now it's using the AI technology that used to be blur the background, which I still think is an option. It's probably what this one is. but it's an option to be able to change your background. So for instance, my home office is actually in my unfinished basement. And so people often wonder, like, where are you? Are you in a cabin, or what's wrong? What's going on with you? So when I'm on a professional meeting, if I'm doing Teams and video, this is a great feature. I'm happy to have this feature now. That Teams just rolled that out, and they're rolling that out this month. The other thing, if this isn't available to you, it is rolling out this month. I think it should be widely available now. The other feature that's coming out that Gerald mentioned, that Gerald was talking about earlier with on our team call here, is that Teams was originally only had 4 video capabilities. They're rolling out, so it's going to be 3x3 or up to 9 videos, 9 video screens you'll be able to see. So just know that that's something that Teams is actually rolling out. And if it's not available to you yet, if you have more than 4 or 5 people, up to 9 people on your call, you have more than 9 people, but it showed 9 videos at a time. That will be rolling out and should be complete by the end of this month. Just to look out for that. All right, Stephanie, and thanks for bearing with me. Didn't give you much notice to show your videos, but I'm going to close that test meeting that I've got in this other session here. And it looks like one of the things, this is a browser window, so it looks like that might not be available in my browser, or maybe it's I had to have the camera on in order to do it. That probably is what it was. So anyway, Stephanie, what is the next question that we've got queued up here in the Q&A?
Awesome. So the first question here is, if a document is shared and edited through Team and ready to be reviewed by people on other teams, what is the best way to share to other folks in the company not on the original team? Through chat? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this yesterday talking about some of the basics of sharing and document collaboration. And part of the question that you're asking really gets to the core of how Teams is built. And Gerald, by all means, jump in from a permissioning perspective as we go along here. But if I understand the question correctly, it's, for instance, let's say I'm on the operations team and I'm collaborating on a document, and the operations team has now said, okay, we're ready to go, but we feel like we need to share it with people maybe on the finance team or maybe on the marketing or the sales team. How best do we share that document? Because by default, if the document is being collaborated on inside of the operations team, only members of that team will have access to that document. So this is actually, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. On Tuesday next week, we're actually going to be going through, it's more of an advanced version of the session we did yesterday, and it's going to talk about how to set up teams in a change management as well as a production environment, and how to potentially do exactly what you're saying. And we'll go deeper on that then. However, the short answer is, if you just share this document from here to, say, someone on the marketing team, and the marketing team doesn't have permission to it, they're not going to be able to collaborate on it. That's the very nature of the way Teams is structured. Even if you were able to, even if you went into the files, you know, and you identified this file right here, and you were able to copy a link to this file, and I shared that file someplace else, unless they have permission to the document in this operations team, they will not be able to edit that document. So, which means that you either A, need to move it to a place, or copy it to a place. Now, the problem with copying is that now you're introducing multiple copies of the document. You move it to a place where you can share it with those respective people, which chat could be a good option for. For example, we have this chat, I clicked on the chat site over here, and we have this chat here that's with Gerald and Stephanie and myself, for example. So it's one of the things I could do. I could upload a file here, like this PowerPoint file. Let's say this was I moved the file here, and I could say, hey, please help me edit this file here. And now that has made Gerald and Stephanie have access to that file where they might not have had access to it in the Teams section. The other option would be that one of the reasons why we have the cross-functional team as an example here is that you might have a team whose purpose, and we'll actually illustrate this a little bit again on Tuesday, you might have a team whose purpose is, you might have folks that from other teams, other departments in the cross-functional team, where you'd be able to then share and collaborate on the document there for the exact purpose that you just described and intended. So the trick is understanding the permissions of where you're sharing and collaborating. So hopefully that answers the question. Chat is definitely a viable option of that, but just know that if you share, you will. The challenge is that people sometimes, it's so easy to say, hey, I want to copy this link and I want to share it with somebody, but even if you do share it, Teams will block the permissioning because that's the very nature of what Teams is supposed to do on your behalf. Hopefully that answers the question. Gerald, any other comments on that from a technical perspective, or any other ideas of how they might be able to do that?
Yeah, no, I think you got it down exactly to what the point is really it's about document versioning. So at this point in time, if that's a document that is gone through revisions and is ready to be produced and actually sent out to clients or out to the rest of the staff, then you would use either an all company or a full SharePoint site to share that. If it's something where it still needs to be collaborated on, but just in a larger group, it'd be assigning that to a different team or a chat or something like that to do it. So yeah, I think that's many of the same things that you said. There are no technical ways around that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, forgive me, I'm not trying to avoid a deeper answer to the question. It just would take a lot more time. But on Tuesday, we are very specifically going to be prescriptive about ways in which you can build a team structure and a process around it to address this exact issue around change management and document management. So great question, though. Next question, Stephanie.
Awesome. Do you have something you could show while we're waiting for questions?
Yes, I do actually. So one of the other things that we've seen lately, I just noticed, I'm going to go to this is the Chromium browser, by the way. So for those of you who haven't seen that, this is the new Edge, new Microsoft Edge browser, which is kind of built similar to Chrome, so they call it Chromium. I would recommend that if you don't have this browser installed, it's a great one to be able to use. One of the things that we had come up earlier in one of the previous sessions was people might want to have multiple team sessions open. Like maybe I'm having a chat or I'm holding a meeting over here like we are, but yet I want to be able to keep that front and center maybe on one monitor, and then I have another monitor where I might want another Teams window open or be able to chat. So in the new Chromium Edge browser, I'm actually going to open up, and I'm just going to go to office.com. Office.com, when you go there, is a place where any of the applications that you have access to as your user when you log in your account, these are the applications that you have access to. So I'm going to open up Teams here in the window here. Notice it gives me the exact same view in the browser that I have on the Teams application. But if you go over here all the way, so I've opened up Teams in the browser. If you go all the way over here to the breadcrumbs or the ellipses over here, select that. There's this indicator here called Apps. And if I shove it, now I've got the Teams tab. If you notice the Teams tab at the top of the window highlighted, it says install this site as an app. So I've already done that. So I just click that and it's actually going to pop it out. I'm going to say install. So now basically, if you notice what it did, it popped it out of a tab, but it popped it into its kind of own app / browser window. So I could be, and I'll just move this to this side and I'll move this Teams to this side. So now so I could be in the Teams channel over here in my general, and I could be chatting with Stephanie on this side. Right, so I could be chatting over here and participating in a conversation over here by having multiple Teams windows open. So you could do that in the browser too, but that's one of the things that installing it as an app. So if you go to the Chrome browser, click on the little breadcrumbs, the new Edge browser, I mean, and then click on Apps, and you can actually then open, install as an app on these different windows. So kind of gives you a cool option to install these different variables. Like Planner is another one. Hey, if I wanted Planner, let's say maybe I wanted Planner, instead of having to open it up as a browser, I can open it up as an app, and I could scroll down here and say install this site as an app. And now what it'll do is it'll pop it out as an app. And then I can actually also pin it. Now that it's down here on the taskbar, I can right click on it and say, well, it's already pinned, but I could unpin it or pin it to the taskbar. So, and I'll give you an example. So I'm closing that out. So instead of having to go to the browser, I could just click on here and it's going to open up Planner right in the app window. So there's some cool things in which you could customize your configuration as far as how you have it set up in the browser versus how you set it up possibly in an app, whether you wanted to install Planner as an app or if you wanted to have forgive me, got to click over here and show the taskbar, or have Teams down here also installed as an app. So any other questions coming yet, Stephanie?
Yeah, is that feature only available in Chromium?
That's my understanding. Gerald, can you, so it's the new Edge Chromium browser. This is what the icon looks like. I do not believe it's, I know it's not available in IE or I think the current Edge browser. So you have to install the new one. Any other, Gerald, do you know any other technical nuances on that, or?
Yeah, that is a feature of the new Edge version, and the new Edge version is based upon Chromium. So Chromium is actually an open source project, and the new Microsoft Edge is based upon that technology, but that feature is only available in the new Edge version.
Yeah, and there's some other cool features that are available. So that if you click on the ellipse here, there's also the collections where you can actually create. And there's also a little shortcut right here, by the way. But on collections, what you can do is you could actually start a new collection where if you had, let's say every day you had these 3 browser windows you wanted open, you could create a collection that included these 3 browser windows. That's one of the ways you could use collections. So it kind of just, it's giving you fewer clicks to get the same information open. Another one that's really cool that Gerald talked about, for those of you who might have multiple accounts or multiple profiles that you're using. So for instance, if you are maybe one of the power users or more, you also have some administrative functions you might be doing where you might have to kind of log into a different account when you're in a browser. Microsoft, the way Office 365 is designed, it makes it problematic to do that, because when you log into your computer, it wants your web applications to Office 365 use the same, by default, use the same username and password. So if you're trying to have a different account than what you're currently logged into your computer, it will give you errors and will give you some problems, and it just gives you some challenges. So one of the ways you can address that is, so for instance, right now I'm working as the demo account, which is the @MTP365. Whereas sometimes I need to log in because we upload this, give you an example that happened yesterday. We upload the recording from the session, but we move it over to the mytech.com account, not the MTP365 account. Well, I had to log in as mytech.com in order to do that. So one of the things I haven't done yet, but I actually talked about it before this session to do, because I was having that problem, is adding a profile. So I could create a mytech.com profile so that I can kind of easily switch back and forth between those. That will confuse the browser less, and it'll make my experience a lot less frustrating. So those are a couple tips around the new Edge browser that you can employ and trying to see how it might help you.
Awesome.
So one thing to just add to that, Nate,
Sure.
Is something else that you can do with those profiles is you can actually pin those profiles to your start bar. So if you were to create a new profile, you can actually have multiple Edge browser windows down on the start bar down at the bottom, or down on the taskbar, and you can actually have each of those profiles. So you just click on it, it opens that profile automatically.
Very cool. Nice. Stephanie, next question.
Yeah, is there a way to join a team meeting in a browser by default? When it first pops up and asks where to join, it seems to switch over the desktop app very quickly.
Yeah, so I think what you're talking about is, so for instance, if you're in if you're in Teams, I'm assuming you're talking about you're probably clicking on a link to join a Teams app. So I'm actually going to get out of this. I'm going to go into Outlook. And so for instance, let's say I'm going to illustrate this. So I'm going to go to the calendar tab here, and I'm going to do up here at the top, I'm going to do a new Teams meeting. So I'm going to click on that, for example. So now it's going to create an Outlook calendar invite that includes a link to join Teams. I'm going to schedule that for I'll do it, say, later today at 2 o'clock to 2:30. I'll say test Teams meeting. Netting, and just go and click that I'm required, and then oops, I'm going to use this Kingsley demo account. I'm going to send those. Okay, so now basically I've got this test Teams meeting that I need to join, and so when you click on that, one of the things that I like to show is when you click on that, it goes from if I click anywhere else on the calendar, it says I can create a new Teams meeting. But if I click on this one, it'll say join Teams meeting. So I don't even need to open this in order to join Teams meeting. But when you click on this, it'll usually go to a browser window, and I'm fearful to click on it because I'm afraid it might interrupt this session, because unless I tell it. I don't know, Gerald, if you have any tips on that, but it usually opens up a browser window saying, do you want to use the web app or do you want to use the Teams app? And it usually will give you that option, but it might also just automatically try and open it up in Teams. I think that's what you're talking about. So Gerald, from a technical perspective, do you know if that's something that you can, is there a setting that you can change that'll allow you to open it up in a browser versus the Teams app itself?
There kind of is. It's going to be based upon the browser itself. Some of the browsers you can set to automatically switch. Trying to think offhand as to how to keep that from happening.
You know what, I just thought of something actually here. You know what, you might be able, I'm gonna try this. So now this went to my Teams calendar. So what I did, this might be a way to do it as you're thinking, Gerald. So I instead of clicking on it from Outlook, right? So I could click on it from the Outlook calendar, and that did prompt me, by the way. I did click on it and it prompted me to open it up in this session, which then said, hey, you're already on a call. Do you want to put that call on hold? And so I chose no because we're in the session. However, I used the Teams app that I installed through the Chromium browser, and I might be able to do it here. And say join the call here, and now I'm actually able to join that because I chose to join that from within. Of course, it wouldn't let me use my webcam, but I'm actually in that call that I just scheduled, but yet I'm still on this call in Teams. So I was able to do that by making sure that I went to the calendar inside of Teams here to join the call versus the Outlook calendar invite. That's at least one way you could do it. I don't know if there's others, Gerald, that prompted you to think about other options that might be feasible.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately is going to be at this time probably the best way to do it. I can tell you that there are some new features coming out in Teams over the next 6 months to a year that are going to be allowing multiple windows and multiple interfaces for Teams. In fact, over the next, I think it's about the next 30 to 60 days, they're rolling out the ability to pop out chat windows separate from the Teams window. So you'll be able to have multiple chat windows open, but they aren't opening up the Teams windows to that yet. So, but I do know that that is on the timeline. It's just out there still a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully that gives that person some tips on what they can do. But yeah, by default, if you use Teams regularly, if Teams is already open, it's going to try and open that Teams meeting in the Teams application. But if you try and open it up from within an alternate Teams window, or if you try and open it up from, I wonder if you open it up from Outlook Web Access, that'd be an interesting way to try it too. Let me try that. I'm going to go to Outlook here in the web browser. And let me see if I can open it up. I'm going to go to my calendar item here. Oh, of course, this is an example. It's trying to log me in as the other account because I haven't made that profile work yet. So let's see here. I'm going to sign into a different account. Sorry about that. Yep, that's what I want. Let me see if I can get into Outlook. Not under my MyTech one, but under, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now let's see if I go to, that's an illustration of what I was talking about. So I wonder if I can go here and join the Teams meeting this way. I wonder if this is going to open it up, since I'm in the browser in Outlook Web Access, I wonder if it might open it up in the browser versus Teams. Let's see. It did. Okay, so that now popped up a browser window saying it's trying to open Teams. I don't want to do that. I want to join on the web instead, and I'm able to now join the call on the web. So that would be one of the ways that you could do it too, is try and open it from Outlook Web Access, or just have another browser. So sorry, it's not the greatest necessarily, but if you get prompted with that web browser option, just tell it to not open Teams, and then you can join from the browser.
The next question relating to the Edge Chromium, will the go-to website from Teams default to that or Explorer?
So for instance, if you're in Teams, I think what they mean, if you're in Teams, and for instance, if you're in Files here, Teams will give you shortcuts. So for instance, one of them is say, hey, open in SharePoint. I think what they're asking is if you click on this, like go to the website, will that default to the browser? I believe the answer is it defaults to the browser that you've set as your primary browser. Gerald,
that is correct.
Okay.
Yep. No, it will. Any link you click on, it's going to follow the Windows or the operating system's link handler, so it's going to by default open up whatever browser handles links for that operating system.
Yep. I thought that was the answer. Thank you for confirming, Gerald. Good. And another question?
Not right at the moment.
Okay. So that actually, because one of the things I wanted to show, so this illustrated one of the things that I think goes to a little bit of the shortcuts that you can create for your team. So for instance, and again, we're going to illustrate this a little bit more on Tuesday, but I'll show you a little illustration of something that that might get you thinking. So one of the benefits of Teams and Office 365 is that you can create the goal that I have for at least working with my team is to help my team make fewer clicks and have to navigate to fewer places to get access to the information they need. Again, make fewer clicks and have to go to fewer places to get access to the information they need. So for example, we have this all company training channel that we've created here. But let's say that on the operations team, well, I want my operations team people that have a lot of information all right here inside of their general channel here. I want them to also have access to the training channel, which by the fact that it's an all company training channel, they do. But if they're already right here, I'd rather just see what if I could create a shortcut right here that could take them to the training channel instead of them having to navigate out of this and go to the training channel. This is an example of where you can add cloud storage in SharePoint. So I'm on the operations team general channel. Now, permissions have to be applied, right? So I'm moving something not from the general channel into the all company channel, because then permissions wouldn't work, because I'm presuming that not all people here have access to things here, but this is an all company channel, so everyone in the organization has access to it. So I want to share something that everyone in the organization has access to a group that also has access to it, but that is a subset of that, and just create a shortcut. So by this, you can do add cloud storage. So I'm gonna click on that. Now it gives you multiple options. So if your organization is using these different features, like for instance, Google Drive, maybe you're collaborating with external folks on Google Drive, or organizations that they're using that, they're sharing you with Google, you can do that there. But you can also, so I'm just going to click SharePoint for this instance, because I'm going to be sharing one of our SharePoint sites. It's going to allow me to say, well, what relevant sites? Well, I actually want to go down to the all team. So it'll give me that option. Click next. And then it'll ask me, well, which document library do I want to do? I want to go into documents. And it's going to actually add just the overall documents here. So you'll see what that looks like. So now I was able to share the all operations, all MTP team documents. When I go up here, I'll give you an example of what I just did. I'm actually going to open this up in SharePoint. Hope that didn't go too fast. So I'm going to go in Teams. So all company, just to illustrate. So I opened it up in SharePoint by clicking this link here. Now this is open in SharePoint. So I actually shared the documents. So this is what we should see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, I'm going to go back to Teams into the general channel. If I click, I'm going to go to the Files tab. If I click on the all MTP 365 documents, what I should see is these two folders. All right, so let's try it just to make sure I'm right. Click on this, and it should see those two exact folders, because I've just shared the SharePoint site as a shortcut to the general team general channel. So now if I'm on the operations team, I don't necessarily have to navigate out in order to access that information. And then the other thing that I'll show you really quick that I think is, because what if I only wanted to share the training channel folder as opposed to the parent, which shares then these two folders? Well, there's a way you can do that too. So I'm going to go into Teams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the training channel, and then there's nothing in here, but I'm going to copy a link to this folder. So I'm going to hit copy link. So, all right, so I've got that copied. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Teams, and I'm actually going to add cloud storage. Actually, is that how I was going to do that? How was I able to do that before? I thought it was adding cloud. Oh yeah, going to SharePoint, use a SharePoint link, and then I can paste the link here. Go and next. Oh, it's still not doing it. I thought there was a way I was able to do that in a team. Forgive me, Gerald. Do you remember how I was able to do that?
Boy,
there was adding a website or something like that. Forgive me. I thought I know that I can do it here by adding a tab, and I can say, well, I want this to be I can use a website URL, and then I can say this is the training channel, and I can paste that link here. And so now it's creating that training channel link, which is pulls up that SharePoint. So I can do it as a tab, but if you're in the file section, that's one of the things. I guess you're only able to link to the parent teams repositories. I forgot about that as far as the limitation here, but if I wanted, but I can create a tab and link directly to that same SharePoint channel there. So there's different ways in which you could, again, make fewer clicks for your team to navigate where they need to go. It's just some tips about how you can try and make things easier for your team and share have different places that all point back to the same spot. So you're not creating copies of information, you're just making it easier for people to get to the same information from different places. So any other questions? We're going into more of how your team members can use these tools together, how they can use Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive to enhance their work from home experience and having a lot easier access to information. So join us next week to future sessions. But in the meantime, I would like to say, everyone out there, please stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks for joining us today.